out there. This is Dr. Richard Applin with Bullpen Science, and I want to welcome you to the roundtable. We're having a video conference today, and we're going to be discussing a few different things, and we're going to start off with something that Glenda said.
Boy, I hate this is on video this morning. Y'all can see my face. We've been talking a lot about this movement, as you call it, Invest in What Matters.
Yeah.
And I wanted to talk a little bit more about that today because, oftentimes when we hear investment, we think more money or, I don't know,
time
and children even, or, stuff like that. And so we are asking for folks to think about what they really want to invest in.
Right.
I mean, truthfully, invest in what matters seems to be, your health, this is where we're going. But I want to talk about why you should invest in what matters.
Okay.
I want to talk about why it's important to invest in what matters, because it seems to me that lack of investing in what matters defaults to investing in something else down the road without you even acknowledging it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So if you don't take the time to invest in what matters, you're defaulting in investing in something negative down the road.
Yeah. Let's break it down and look at one issue. If you are constantly battling an illness, do you have more or less time available for your family?
Less. Agreed. Less
time.
Right. And so investing in what matters actually decreases that time spent, all right, dealing with a chronic illness or a problem. I mean, you look at families that come in here, these kids don't get sick. And if they do get sick, it only lasts for a day or so. I mean, they're not down for a week, and they're not down for 2 weeks. And the adult, he gets an infection or something, he comes in contact with something that he doesn't have programming for, and he may have an illness, but it is a very short-lived illness. And the vast majority of time, these people are healthy, all right, by, not only our social standards, but, you can tell scientifically these people are functioning at a higher level. And they say when you're dead, when you're lying on your deathbed, what do you ask for more of?
You wish you had more time.
Right. And so if that time is spent isolated dealing with an issue, is that robbing time from everyone else?
Absolutely.
Yes.
And honestly, it's robbing time from yourself.
Yeah.
Because what you're living with is that problem and trying to control that problem. And that takes away from what matters. And so investing in what matters, like that old, the oil filter commercial, you can pay me now or pay me later. And pay me later is always more expensive.
Yeah.
All right. So when you invest in what matters, it may seem like up front, well, this is just out of the norm. It's not that it's really expensive, because it's not that expensive. It's just out of the norm. And as a result, we say, well, that's just too expensive. I just cannot afford that. I was talking with someone yesterday, and they were talking about how expensive it is. And at the same time, they were working on this other project that was, tens of thousands of dollars.
Right.
That was a luxury product. And so that's just a priority issue. And I didn't take offense with, to it.
Right.
It's just a lack of awareness. And, that lack of awareness is, everywhere you look. And, when I've always said where there's a lack of awareness, there's a victim.
It is. And I've seen patients, and they know they have some issues, and they are insistent on trying to fix those issues themselves. Other than coming in, getting an adjustment, they won't do anything more than that. But they're like, well, I can fix whatever else is going on.
And you got to wonder, where did that thinking come from? Because that is a level of thinking. If I say, I need to fix that issue. Or like, for instance, I trip and skin my knee. I need to fix that issue, which is the skinned knee. But the reason why I fell is somebody tied my shoelaces together. All right. So I get back up and I fall back down. I skin my other knee. I need to fix that issue. And that is really how we have created this culture.
Absolutely.
We don't see that their shoes are tied together. We just see that you have a skint knee.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Even the way they think, a lot of them will, they've accepted the way they think, and they feel like that they can fix whatever other issues on their own just by thinking the same way they've thought the entire time. If it didn't work the first time, maybe you should change your thought process, because you're not going to get a better outcome if you continue to do the same thing you've been doing.
Yeah, Ayn Rand, the modern day philosopher, she said that, if you do the same thing over and over again and get the, same outcome.
Definition of insanity, pretty much.
And so maybe you want to change what you're doing. Mm-hmm. And the way you change it in healthcare is you back up and you look at the situation. All right. And it really comes down to this issue of, are you more interested in controlling the outcome of an issue, all right? Or are you more interested in changing the process that created that outcome? We talk about cost and outcome. If we're constantly looking at the cost of an issue, our outcomes get worse. If we look at changing the outcome, our costs go down. Mm-hmm. But why is it? It's so obvious, I think, to us around this table, that we see this going on out there, but the vast majority of people don't see it.
That's where the awareness comes in.
Right.
It seems like here what we're doing is opening their eyes to seeing what actually is the truth, that there is a process that has gotten you to this place.
Right.
You now have fibromyalgia because this is going on back here. You can treat fibromyalgia, but you haven't changed the process that created it. So that seems to be what we see a lot here, is that the patients become aware of what has brought them here in the first place.
Right. And I don't know if you've ever been present when I'm talking with a new patient and they tell me about their issue. The first thing I always say is, why?
Why?
Mm-hmm. Why? Yeah. And they're
The
like,
Southern way. Why?
well, I don't know.
And they look at me with this strange look, like, you're from Mars or somewhere. And
They say, well, that's why I'm here.
Right.
yeah. All right. And so they're so used to, when they talk to a doctor, they're always talking about the what. Mm-hmm. And the doctor is responding and trying to control the what. Mm-hmm. And it never really works. And the reason why is because the why has to be addressed if you want to change the what.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not rocket scientist. It's really not.
No.
It seems overwhelming to some people, and it's very much convenient and easier to take something to address the what, because then you're almost not even responsible for getting to the root.
Yeah.
And addressing the root. And so, excuse me, a lot of times that's what I think drives behind the, if I take full responsibility of this process, do you know what that means? Mm-hmm. That means I've got to do something mm-hmm. to get to this thing. Mm-hmm. And oh my Lord, if it caused this big problem, mm-hmm. what am I going to have to do?
But part of that comes into play when you look at the fact that most people don't realize how powerful they actually are.
Yeah,
there you
right.
go.
Especially on things like I had a friend yesterday. I was on the phone with her, and she eats a lot, but she can't gain any weight. And she's like, I've given up on trying to gain weight. I just have a fast metabolism. Like, she has put that on, just having a fast metabolism, and that's just what she was cursed with. That's how she looks at it. That's how she doesn't look at it. Yeah, she doesn't look at it like she can change that. This can be something that can be changed. And
well, this is confession time. I was in that same situation with the numbness that I have been having in my hands for the last few decades. And it's simply because of the damage that I have in my neck from growing up and being in a bunch of accidents. And so I have that damage, and every, well-meaning doctor that I have met, has told me the same thing. Well, you have to expect that when you have that kind of damage. And so I should have known better. And when I got the pillow that was designed for me my body style, my body position as far as my sleeping, and then the density of my mattress. When I got all those factors corrected, the numbness went away. And so, having numbness for over 2 decades every morning, and then it just go away, that really opened my eyes. That here I am talking about it, and I was suffering one of the same issues. And so none of us are immune.
Right.
All right. And it is a daily issue, all right, that we have to look at. And we have to question the why pretty much behind everything.
We do.
And in the beginning, it may seem like it's exhausting, but the reason why it's exhausting is because you've been blind to it.
Yeah, and it's new. I mean, things that are new, it's hard to, adjust to that. So if you're not used to doing thousands of deep breaths throughout the day and
even though that you are breathing thousands of times.
Anyway, if you're not used to consciously doing it, you're going to be like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, I get so tickled at people when you say that to them and they go, I have to breathe that way as if it's extra. I'm like, you're already breathing
This isn't
one
a lot
way.
of groceries or anything. Just breathe.
I think it just looks overwhelming to them. It's
just about
just
to
such
say
a
that.
big picture to them. They feel like they can't conquer that.
Right.
Well, if you were to cut down a tree, right? If I had the proper tools to just take care of the trunk, I'd be good. But most of us look at the trunk and we're like, it's just too big. I'm going to climb the tree and start snipping. Wait, no. First, I'll start pulling leaves. And then when it's bald enough, I'm going to trim a branch, and then eventually I'll get to the point where I've got, sunlight and the trunk is still there and I'm good. And yes, while that trunk looks overwhelming, how much time did you take to pick every leaf off that tree?
Right.
How much energy did you put in breaking a branch? It looks overwhelming because there's so many leaves, but they're all part of the same process, the lack of capacity.
Absolutely.
And so if we can do that, then, them leaves will fall off by themselves, but it's just, it is overwhelming. And I believe it's overwhelming because we have picked apart so many parts of the molehill,
Right.
that we've just not realized, the mole is just sitting there throwing stuff up. So it's just we've got to shift gears in our mind.
Yeah, and I think it's become overwhelming as well because so many of us don't look within ourselves to be able to correct the issues within ourselves.
Right.
We look
outside in.
Yeah, we're like, what do I need to do to fix this?
Yeah.
What do I need to do to fix this? Like, what exercises can I do? And a lot of times it's just take some deep breaths and, change the way you think. A lot of times it's within you to fix what's within you.
Well,
That's the thing is, like you said, we have the ability to heal. Our bodies have the ability to heal themselves. We just have to give it the opportunity.
right. And it's just opportunity and time. I mean,
Yeah.
this is a great example. I just got this yesterday from a doctor friend of mine. She's been through my classes, and she has suffered from vertigo or dizziness whenever she gets in a car. She just gets nauseous. She has motion sickness, and she's had it her entire adult life.
Wow.
And so she has been working on freeing up capacity in her brain for the last 2 years. And so she was traveling with some friends of hers, and it did not even dawn on her until after they had gotten to their destination that she was actually looking down, reading a map, and giving directions, which would have put her in the floor the whole way on this trip, and she had no problems.
Nice.
Wow.
All right, so she just needed time, all right, and direction.
Too many of us don't have that time.
Right, but you already
But you
have
do.
the time.
We have
Yeah.
the time.
Exactly. It's just like these people that say, "I can't breathe that way
Yeah.
this many times."
Too many people. Today's society wants things right now, so we don't have that time because we don't put in that time anymore for
It's all
things
about
to
your
happen.
priority.
Yeah, we will be quick to take a Tylenol or something for a headache instead of allowing the body to do what it needs to do naturally. You have something in there, so let the body fight it off. But you would rather block off these receptors and everything, and the body can't do what it needs to do.
Right.
So
We have to remember that it took time for you to get to this place.
Absolutely.
So it's like turning a big ship. It's going to take time to turn that ship back in the other direction. I mean,
good.
you didn't just get there overnight.
That's good.
You know,
That's
so
good.
yeah.
Now, this was a really good conversation. I like this. You know, in summing things up from my perspective, none of us are immune from this
right.
issue. All right, it does take time, but you only have time,
Pretty much.
right?
Right.
Yeah.
So when you're on your deathbed, all you want is more time.
Right.
So how you use that time matters. And that ties back into the whole issue of invest in what matters. And so I really enjoyed this conversation. I hope you guys have enjoyed it as well out there. And we look forward to the next episode of Bullpen Science. So this is Dr. Aplin with Willa, Teresa, Glenda. You guys have a great day out there, and we'll see you in the field.
Bye.